Actually say malo lady too.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't get to say that very often. Hi everybody, my name is Isaac Halasima. I don't know if you saw there, a lot of people ask how I got connected to this thing. My uncle is Jan Fisher, who made the statue of Duke on the beach of Waikiki. Oh. And so, yeah, this is all kind of his dying wish, actually. I was better known, if you know Imagine Dragons, like a lot of people don't realize it was a Tongan making the music videos for those guys early on. But yeah, if you watch the Demons music video or the Gold music video, and I lived with them during their whole first album, I'm even singing on it, as lame as that is. But it was, doing a documentary on them, and then all that. So they're my boys, they're like my family. But so my career was really moving. I'd written a movie and it was in the theaters, and my uncle approached me and said, hey, you know, I think you could be the one maybe to try to tell the story. And I was just like, I don't know, you know? But then he died shortly after that. And it was kind of like one of those things with most polys I know is, you know, the way to get us to do anything is to talk to our uncles and get them to get us to do it, you know, and it works, you know, especially if it's the last thing they say. So this was a big one for me, you know, and it's been a battle. But I'm just excited to have you guys here for it, see it. This is Laie voice right here, if you're curious about those guys. You know, I only exist.
I'm curious.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're good-looking dudes. I know.
Just kidding.
They came out for free. But yeah, this is I exist because of Laie. That's where my mom and my dad. My mom went to live with my uncle, and she found a Tongan fresh off the boat. So, you know, that's kind of how it happened. You know, and then she took me back to Utah and raised me there. So. You know,
Isaac, I think everyone is extremely proud of you in this room. I can speak for everyone if that's okay. But I think one thing is if you could tell us a little bit, and then I'm going to open it to the crowd to be able to answer any questions. But can you tell us a little bit why it was so important for you to tell the story of Duke? And I know that you have a tie with your uncle, but specifically, there's other Pacific Islanders who have done amazing things throughout the history of not just America, but the Pacific. But why Duke in particular?
There's so many reasons. One of the first ones that comes to mind is I worked with the History Channel on a show called The Gangland. Gangland with them for a long time, and we did our episode on the TCG. And I remember going around with those guys, and like it was kind of weird because we were interviewing cousins in jail and all sorts of places, and it was just a little bit heartbreaking. Not for what the situation these guys were in, because if you're raised in a situation where you feel like that's how you have to survive, I get it, you know. But at the same time, it was just heartbreaking because it's almost like these guys didn't realize we had this guy. You know, we had Superman as our hero, and so that was one of those things where I was like, man, I wish I could do something for us. You know, I wish I could find something for us. It did serve as kind of a motivator for me to do things, you know. And then I told you, Lisa, about one of the big ones for me is as my career moved, it's kind of hard to explain, but like, and a lot of you maybe feel it sometimes, but when you do something kind of out of the norm, especially in our culture, it can get hard. You know, you can feel like you're almost betraying your culture at times. And you know, there's the people that, you know, we all rag on each other all the time, and all. There's times it's like, man, am I even Polynesian anymore? You know, and the cool thing about it was I was working for NBC for a long time in the sports department, and I got to travel the world with them and do all sorts of cool things. But I had this little sister who just would not let me forget what I was. And she would call me all the time. She'd call me like, I'd be like just random working, and she would call until I answered. You know those people that just won't quit calling and you can't do it? And so I was like, fine, I'd answer, and she's like, hey, don't forget you're Tongan. I'm like, okay, I'm Tongan, I get it. And I'd hang up, you know? It's like, she just made sure. It was my little sister Mele. And she died when she was 21, while she was actually doing a food drive for soldiers. It was a really cool thing she was doing, and she got in a car wreck. And it's one of these things that drove me on this one, for me specifically, beyond my uncle, was this is kind of my way to tell my sister it got through. The message got through, you know? Because, yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Isaac.
Yeah, this is one of those things I don't talk about too often. But it's one of those things where it means a lot to me. One thing I've learned about Duke, I think his biggest motivation was he knew what he represented. And I think for all of us, if we know what we represent, it'll affect the way we do things. That's what Duke was. You know, he knew that the person could be completely awful to him, to his face, but he has the chance to be their experience with a Hawaiian. And it worked. It worked everywhere he went. You know, even the worst at him, like, you go to there's some stories, like, he went to a restaurant, this guy's like, you blankety blank and all this stuff, and it's like Georgia, it's the South. And he's just like, well, I'm sorry you were raised that way. I'm sorry you feel that way. And instantly the whole restaurant's like, yeah, that guy's a jerk. You know, it was like, it's just like that. You know, and that's all it really took. He's a special person. So anyway, so that's one of my motivations though. This is my chance to do something for my own culture. I don't know how often you get to do that. So this is pretty cool. My dad, when he came here to America, I don't think he saw this. You know, I don't think he ever saw anything like this going on for us. He just wanted his kids to have a chance. So this is cool.
Great chance. We're happy to be here. Any questions from anyone? Please feel free to just stand up and ask your question. Oh, great, Carl. Thank you so much. Oh, yes. Did you have a question? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, they depicted several descendants of Duke in the movie, and I was wondering if you know how many of his sons and daughters and nephews and grandchildren there might still be.
He actually never had any children,
No.
which actually makes it, in a weird way, fun, because everyone calls him Uncle Duke, and that did make him Uncle Duke for the whole thing, you know. But if you go to Hawaii now, if you go to Waikiki, you gotta say hi to my boy Didi. If you know where Duke's restaurant is, there's the Hawaiian rental place. You can rent stuff there. That's the last of the Kahanamoku's Beach Boys there, and Didi's the one that runs it. And so you gotta make sure you give him a shout out when you're there. You know, because he's old school. I mean, you got to kind of clean the ears and be ready for some fire to shoot in there too, because he'll let you know what he thinks about the world. But those are the true Beach Boys that are there on that. The rest are all over. You saw the guy from New Zealand on here that was also talking about him. He's from the Paoa side, and they're all in New Zealand now. So they're kind of spread out throughout all the world.
I have a question here. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, thanks, man.
Just curious, I think I kept watching it and I just kept asking myself, I just couldn't believe I didn't know this much. There just haven't been other films on Duke,
Yeah, you know.
So it's just,
Yeah.
Certainly, I guess part of my question is, are there other films, or is this really the first, comprehensive film?
Yeah, you know what's weird is there's one little film that came out a little while, about 5-6 years ago, about a guy that falls asleep. He's a pro surfer, wakes up back in time, and meets Duke, and Duke teaches him how to like life. And then it's like, and the Hawaiians would ask, "You gonna make it like that?" I'm like, yeah, I hope to step it up a bit, you know. But hey, Duke, the guy that played Duke, it's great, by the way. So, but yeah, it's, I think part of the problem with Duke, the way he's disappeared into history, is he was so humble. He relied on other people to tell his story for him. He wasn't a public speaker. He would just show up. And so people didn't get all of his story, or even just huge, like this one, just huge chunks of his story in one place. That's why I loved it when I would talk to people. They'd be like, well, why should I know about Duke? I'm like, well, how many American athletes do you know of that have statues dedicated to him in 3 different countries? They're like, I'm like, yeah, exactly. That's how important this guy is. He's celebrated around the world more than the country he represented. And I don't think it's anyone's fault necessarily. I think it's that you have to see it together. To go, oh my gosh. And that's one of my biggest goals on this thing in the end. And man, Kelly Slater lit up when we were talking about this. He's like, yes, we did a national day for him and all this. I'm like, whoa, okay, I don't know what we're gonna get, dude. But I was like, you're Kelly Slater, you can get whatever you want, so why not? But I hope that when people talk about Jack Johnson or Jackie Robinson and Jim Thorpe and Muhammad Ali and Jesse Owens, that they will talk about Duke Kahanamoku, that he will be a natural part of that conversation, because you can see what he did for America and for the world, and it's special.
Any other questions?
All around. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Thank you for the wonderful movie. I think we're all looking for content that we walked out of the theater and it's changed us.
Oh, good.
That was an incredibly humble person.
Yeah.
I know I'm reevaluating some of my values.
Hey, the Hawaiians got it good. They figured it out. Yeah.
I think we all hope this movie gets out to the public too, so I wish you luck with that.
No,
How did you
thanks.
find the main actor? I'm curious.
Dwayne, he's a Makaha boy. If you know Makaha, it's like if you can get out of there without a scar. He's You got to be tough-skinned to be out there. Yeah, Dwayne, he was actually picked by Buffalo, Kealana, and Brian Kealana. We had the old school Beach Boys pick him out. Because the thing is like, I didn't want to be the one picking who plays Duke in this one. I wanted people that wanted him and knew someone that could represent him. And if you guys know Dwayne actually runs a foundation in Hawaii where he goes to all the different beaches and all the different islands, teaching the kids the old ways of Hawaii, so they can understand the traditional Hawaiian waterman protected people in the water. It wasn't just to have fun, but you wanted other people to have fun, which meant they had to feel safe. And so that's what he takes as his kuleana, is to protect and to teach. And so this was a natural fit for him. He didn't want to do it, he had to be convinced. Which, I mean, it makes sense, you know, who wants to be that? You know, this guy's amazing.
Jane?
It's nice to see how Duke influenced American culture
Yeah.
in sports particularly. Where will this film be screening moving forward?
Well, it's wild. It opened up at the very beginning of April in Hawaii. And I was like, if the Hawaiians like it, you know, we'll see what happens. And within a week, it was the #1 doc in America and the #3 movie in America with seats per theater, just because of Hawaii. I was like, okay, all right. Yeah, so this is actually week number 4 that it's been hitting theaters. You know, and the thing is, I gotta be honest, when I made this, I did not think it would play in theaters. I make things to play in theaters because I just want to, I wanted Duke to look like Superman. So I was like, I'm gonna make him like psychotic, and if it ever plays. My producers are the ones who were like, yeah, let's get it out there. So I was just like, hey, if you pull it off, we pull it off. So this is awesome. This is, I mean, Duke deserves this. You know, what I loved about this is it was my chance to give him something he didn't get, which was Hollywood. You know, I made sure we had a full orchestra scored from beginning to end, and then we gave him everything that we could out of Hollywood with a light budget, but everything I could, because he deserves it, you know, and he's a national icon and a hero that, I mean, it doesn't take a lot for you to look at it and go, whoa, how are we not talking about this guy? You know, and it's really no one's fault. Like, it just happened, and maybe it's a good thing that he's coming back now. Maybe the world needs aloha now, you know? And what I love is that all the islands, we all have our own version of it. You know, when you hear that, you know, keep it in your heart, like in Tonga, I was always taught as absorb it. You know, in my Tongan, which is a very similar thing. Like, we all carry very similar things because we're all from the same culture. Sure, we beat each other up. But I mean, when my sister married a Samoan, I was like, well, that's over. You know, so it's like, you know, it's just, you know, we're family in the end. And the thing is like, it feels like the right time for us to go, you know, maybe screaming at each other is the wrong way to change the world. You know, because Duke, man, he figured it out. He did. Yeah, and it's kind of sad he slipped under the radar, but again, maybe I wonder if it's just the right time. I feel like the elements were against us. We were in New Zealand shooting this when that guy went crazy and shot everybody in Christchurch. I was living in the block where he did it, you know, and then Australia like went through all the plagues of the Bible while we were there, and then COVID hit. I was like, man, I think the devil doesn't want this out, you know, but it's here. So yeah, that's cool.
Oh, yes, go ahead, Fo.
I just want to say thank you.
Oh, thanks.
Today's my birthday, and I decided to
Really? Oh, happy birthday.
It's Steve Holmquist's birthday this week.
tonight, and especially if you're Polynesian, that doesn't feel like they are fine. That you unearthed this story about unsung heroes because his passiveness is who we are.
Yeah,
His humility is who we are. We just do the work.
yeah.
We kokua, we tautua. We just do the work. That's the aloha in all of us, the alofa. It's natural, it's innate, but we don't get to see it on the big screen. And what a way for us to kick off NHPI Heritage
Yeah.
Month. I just want to say thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. Wow. That's awesome. No, it's true. You know, it's funny, you know, honestly, when you think about we talked about it on the podcast, when you think about the stereotype of Polynesians, you know, this was the first big one the world saw. And what he stuck is stuck with us. When you see people that have met a Poly or just know of one, they usually say, oh, really athletic, friendly people. And it's like, you can see where it came from now. And it's like, it's a cool thing we get to have right off the bat when we run into a crowd, you know? And even if someone had an awful run-in, they know there's a good chance that the rest are like that, you know? And that's how it should be. You know, we have something as Polynesians in particular that we can offer the world, I think, that can really help everybody out. You know, I swear we're the culture that just cares. It's been the wildest thing. You know, you look at so many people in the world that want to, oh, this is mine, this is mine. And yeah, we were the ones always sharing everything we have as often as we could. And it's special because sharing seems to make it more people care. So I love it. Thank you so much. That was awesome.
I have a question up there. Go ahead, sir. I
Yeah.
see.
Oh, Pono, thank you very much.
All right, thank you, man.
Any
Thanks so
other
much.
question? Sure.
Oh, there's one up here, right?
Oh. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Actually, the one that he did all the, like, it's amazing to think that there was no lifeguards in California until Duke. By the way, that's a wild thing to think, and surfboard rescues started that day. You know, that board is saved actually. That one's down in Huntington Beach, and then if you want to meet someone real special, take the trip down to the Surf Museum. I can't remember exactly where it is. It's down closer to the LA area,
San
around there.
Clemente.
Was it?
It's San Clemente.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and Paul Stroud runs it.
Yeah.
Take a chance to meet that man. He was part of Duke's original surf team. You know, he's getting up there in age, so you want to get it soon. But one of Duke Sports is there too. And then the board that we shaped for this is in the Moana Hotel in Hawaii right now. In fact, all the hotels are fighting over it. It kind of makes me feel cool. You know, I'm just like, because I know that when I pitch this, I'm like, and then I'll have my surfboard shaper shape Duke as we're going through the whole thing, you know? And so now they're fighting over the board, and I'm like, it worked. Okay, it's cool. So, yeah.
Question? Did you want to go ahead? And then you. Yeah. Go ahead.
I
ma'am.
shared honors with Michael Phelps. We attended the same university.
Oh, nice.
But I wondered if, and I got to see him when he was trying to do a comeback over in Santa Clara before the Olympics. But do you know how Duke may have influenced his life? I always held him up to my grandkids because apparently he had the same physical characteristics that Duke. They talked about his hands and his feet.
Yeah, well, it's the flutter kick. It really is wild to think that didn't exist in swimming, in competitive swimming, and it makes sense that he slaughtered everybody till they all figured it out. But yeah, when you look at surfers and the way they paddle and the way they have to kick, it makes sense that that's what he took with him when he swam. And that flutter kick that we all do when we do competitive swimming was originally called the Kahanamoku kick. And so that's why he says that that's what Michael Phelps learned, is because it's the Kahanamoku kick that he learned. And it was called that all the way until, well, the Australians claimed it for a while because they like claiming everything. And then, I give them a hard time because they're easy to have fun with. You go there and make fun of them, they'll shoot it back at you even better. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, so but that's the one that for sure Michael Phelps got. You know, and it's sad that in the swimming community they don't honor him as much as they should. You know, that's, you know, in the 2016 Olympics when I was watching it, they put up the greatest swimmers of America. Well, in Olympics in general, Duke didn't make this list of 15, I think they put up. And I was like, the first great one, you know? So that was another kicker for me to go, oh, okay, the world's got to learn about this guy. He's more than a statue on a beach. Yeah.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, first off, thanks for the movie. It was really great.
Oh, thanks, man.
Enjoyed it. Two-part question. What's next for Duke's story? Do you have anything in store for that? And are you working on any projects that involve any other Polynesians?
Oh, yeah.
Or
Yeah.
stories that involve that?
Yeah, I was trying to not do more movies in Hawaii, but I mean, it's Hawaii. I mean, why would you not go to Hawaii? So it's like get paid to be in Hawaii? Yeah, I'll do that. No, it's I know one story I've been pushing. If you know the Rel Sun story, I think that's what the world needs to know too. But and that's because, and I'm a big Makaha guy too, so I love talking about Jason's scar comes from a bar fight in Makaha, you know, and that kind of stuff. But it's also, she's another powerhouse of Duke level the world I think needs to know about. For me, I guess, you know, I shouldn't tell people about it, but we're all friends, you know? No, I've been approached to develop the movie on this. So
Exclusive.
Yeah, it's exclusive. I was my original plan was a movie, and these producers said, "Well, what about a doc? It's going to be in the Olympics. It'd be a great time to give this a shot." I'm like, yeah, I'll do the doc. And so now I've been approached. Actually, last week I was approached about it. So we'll see what comes of it. You know, Hollywood, they like to talk a lot, but you know.
I don't know Hollywood, but
Okay, I do. Yeah, it's they're all your friends until they don't think you're worth anything. So you know, it's just I just have fun with them. I want to make movies. I love movies. You know, my whole life changed because of movies. You know, the whole reason I decided to do what I do as a living is because of a movie called Glory. It changed the way like I was around my cousins and everybody my whole life saying that, well, would a director want to have this in his past? And so I wouldn't do things. And so I know there's a power to movies and the history you learn from movies. And I think putting Duke on a big screen, kind of like what I was showing off earlier in this, you know, but even like a full movie could do a lot for everybody in the world. You know, because in the end, you can talk about all the stuff that will get people in the theater, you know, the awards, the good looks. Duke was good looking, like all that stuff. But in the end, it's aloha that makes Duke. It's his belief in his people. It's his belief in the Polynesian way that made him who he was. And if you can get that message to the world in a movie, then man, you're doing some cool stuff.
We have time for maybe one more question.
Yeah.
Okay, well, just a really, oh,
Do you have a website?
I do. It's just my name. I'm like terrible at it too. I haven't updated it in like 4 years, but yeah, I do. Just Halasima.com. It's got all my boring stuff I've done, commercials and things. But you know, I have a feeling things are kind of turning a corner here. So maybe I'll get someone else to do it because I'm terrible at my own stuff. Problem is, I hate talking about myself. That's the biggest problem I have. You know, this part's been easy because I get to talk about Duke. You know, you get to remind the world about this guy that you know is awesome. That I get to be the guy to try to do it right now. Hopefully, more people try it in the future. You know, I'd love it if there's like 10 Duke movies, and 8 of them are awful, and 1 of them is as good as mine. But you never know. I just hopefully, you know, just everybody tries to talk Duke for a while, because I you know, I'll leave it here with me. Whenever I go to Hawaii. And it's my thing. I always go to the statue. I tap my uncle's name, just say hi to my uncle. His ashes were spread right at the statue. So that's how I say hi to my uncle. I tap his name. That's why I always know it's there. And I will sit there and I just dream of the day that I can be sitting there and I would see a tourist walk up to the statue and know exactly who he is. Not have to read, not have to explain to something or look. Just go, oh, that's Duke. Oh, blah blah blah. I just start talking. I just want to see it just once. You know, because my uncle meant the world to me. Duke meant the world to me, you know, because of my uncle. You know, he has over 100 statues in Maui. He did Yosepa in Utah. He did all these other statues, but this is the one where it really meant something to him. And so, you know, that's one of my last goals on all this stuff. So hopefully we see that in the future.
we have one more question and
cool.
then we're gonna wrap it up.
Yeah.
All right. A second ago, you mentioned another story that you think we all should know. I think it was Rael's son.
Yeah.
Would you say briefly what that is or where I could find out more about it?
Oh, she is the Queen of Makaha, is what you can look up. She was in the time that there was no female surfing. She was female professional surfing. She was the queen. She was the king of it all. She had her own radio show out in Makaha, and so she competed against the men, and she would win. And in the process of doing that, though, cancer overtook her. And she rode all the way until she died. And there's moments of her, like she realized that she needed to hurry and make sure everyone knew aloha. And so she took children all around the world, used her fame to help all the next generation, which Dwayne, who played Duke, is one of the kids that she would take care of. And just keep them and just show them the Hawaiian way. When you know what Dwayne does today, you know where he got it. And it's a special story, you know, where she would wear this pink hat. She became famous for it because after she lost all her hair and became frail, she would wear it and surf. And one day she just couldn't do it anymore. And she came out to the beach and everybody had pink hats on for her. And so it's like, there's just some really good story in there that she's a powerhouse out there. And we need to remember her.
Isaac, it's been a pleasure to have you
Yeah,
come
thanks.
all the way here for the Bay Area, Northern California showing of the Waterman.
Thanks, guys.
Because all of you did such a great job in purchasing a ticket, the theater has decided to do another showing because of all of you tonight. Next Monday, 7 o'clock show. So please tell your friends, your family, if they haven't seen Waterman, to come watch here at the theater next Monday night at 7 p.m. Invite everyone. Thank you all for joining us, but Isaac, malo alpito. Isaac will be around to take pictures outside by the Waterman banner. So thank you, everyone.